until it stops.
You can
Alright.
see that? Oh, there it is.
Yes, I can see that. Why would I not be able to see it? All right.
I can't.
So next up is public input. Public in attendance have up to 5.
Come out of executive session.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you, Lindsay. Anyone?
Make a motion, we come out of executive session.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we'll go into public input. Public in attendance will have up to 5 minutes to address the board. Please use the podium to address the board, and please be respectful of others. Any public input?
And something real quick. Actually, I have 2, so hopefully I'll do it all in 5. The first one, I know. The first one was, I just had a question about procedure for the select board. I noticed that some of the members will recuse themselves from a vote, and then they don't add anything to discussions. And at the workshop and at a previous board, I know Amber even, I think, called you out, Joe, that you continue to talk during the Y negotiations. The MMA Officers Manual on this page 18 talks about commenting, and you're actually supposed to do it from over here because you're in a position of power from over there. So maybe that's something that's maybe not in your manual, or something that you'd want to talk about or have a workshop about, how to handle when someone recuses themselves and how it's supposed to be handled amongst each other when the manual spells it out pretty clearly. So just, I'll hand that to Lindsay before the night is over. The other thing was, unfortunately, I had sent a last email saying it's over, it's done, the bridge is done. But I'm here to say something about everything that happened when it was brought up about my husband building the bridge at Bunganut. I've heard some unfortunate things around town. Felicetti Corporation, which my husband's not a corporation, built the bridge for $3,500. That is inaccurate. His estimate was $4,125, and that included parts. His total bill was $3,297.24. $672.24 were for materials. $2,625 was his labor. He worked for 2 weeks on that bridge. He drilled over 500 holes on over 200 balusters, so they wouldn't crack and they'll hold up to the strain of everyone walking on it. I know it was said it could be handled better, but there was no, I cleared it with Lindsay for a month and a half. The select board member and I looked for people to build it. It seemed fine when one of the members of the Bunganut Pond Committee was mentioned to build it. And why not ask him? We did. He wasn't available. No one was available. We were going to lose the donations. I went to the town manager after I spoke to my husband. He's like, I don't know. And I said, would it be a problem? She said, I don't see what not. Is he insured and bonded? It's not over a certain amount. I said, okay. So I mentioned to the select board member, my husband would do it. If you want to meet with him, I'll stay out of it. The only thing I do, my husband's not tech savvy. I email his invoices for him. I always have the whole time we've been married. You know, the chapel was done and it took 2 days, and the town was fine spending $2,400 for labor for 2 days' work. He worked for 2 weeks on that bridge, and yet he got faulted for it. And now the rumors are in town, then, oh my God, Felicetti Carpenter did the work. I'm just clearing it up. I cleared it with town manager. There was never any nefarious purpose. I left the committee. That was one of my reasons I left for that. Because, you know, I think we all know we protect our family, our husbands, our children. They mean the most to us. And I just hope no one does that to your family, your husbands, your kids, you know, because it wasn't ever mentioned, you know, my apologies, Felicity Carpenter, he did nothing wrong. He helped the town out and he saved him a lot of money. And when I even asked him what he would have charged to do the chapel, he kind of laughed when he thought it was. He said, half that. So the other thing too, the person that did the work at the chapel was actually related to someone in town who has a contract, a long one, and a planning board member. And that was never brought up. But it's only brought up that my husband's married to me, but we're okay with other relatives doing other work. So it seems personal, just so you know. And it's something you can't take back when you do that.
Thanks, Michelle. Any other public comment tonight? Sorry. Okay. I don't have any mail on my docket tonight.
Thank you.
Any updates on the franchise agreement?
I did write down some updates. It's not super exciting. The Maine Connectivity Authority is continuing to work on the new model franchise agreement since the recent law changes. Tony had gotten back to me that they're moving forward with it. He is anticipating possible spring, it'll be done and we can start going back to negotiations. He's not 100% certain on that, but he's very hopeful. So stay tuned.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right. And then we have Massabesic Little League to discuss Chad 1 reservations and field fee schedules. So you're up.
Hi, Greg Mitchell, Massabesic Little League president, also a member of Lyman, 38 Dorothy Lane. So it's come to our attention that you guys made a new field fee schedule
Mhm.
that you intend on imposing on all organizations that use any fields in Lyman. So for us, we're a nonprofit, volunteer-based organization, 100%. None of us, me, any board members, are paid for any of the stuff. We did some of our own research, did some polling of other Little Leagues across Southern Maine. Not one of their towns has charged their Little Leagues fees to use fields. Some organizations do donate to towns based on certain conditions, like they have nice scoreboards or they have nice facilities to use. So they choose to do that. We did not get one response that says, yes, town X charges us a flat rate nor a rate hourly. So, so I just want to let you guys know that some of the things that we do for all fields that we play. Okay. So last year we spent $900 per field for maintenance. That is grooming of the fields, cutting lines as grass grows in the infield, digging out grubs, getting out all the weeds and stuff like that. So we did that in all of our fields. So up in Limerick, up in Waterboro, etc. We also pay for turfus dirt. So that's the nice dirt that gets put on in the infield to absorb moisture so things dry very quickly when we have rain. That's over $800. And we do it 1 ton, if not close to 2 tons on some fields, depending on use. So some years they might need 2, 1 year. So that's $800 total. That's per field. We also have other maintenance items per fields. We have bases, we have rakes, we have chalk, we have paint, all these miscellaneous stuff to keep the field up nice. It gets maintained by coaches and board members every year. Those miscellaneous costs between the $800, the $900, it's basically $2,000 per field, easy. That's what the MLB uses player registrations and when we do our fundraising. So towns in Massabesic Little League, we do not, we do donate to Waterboro and we donate to Alfred based on previous actions. Those amounts of Waterboro, we do donate them $1,000 flat fee, and Alfred roughly $500. Limerick, we have not set up any negotiations with them, or Shapley, and currently right now not Lyman. Third thing I'd like to talk about is the amount of residents and kids that participate in Lyman, Massabesic Little League. So we have over 440 kids last year. 20% of those were Lyman residents. So we had about 85, 87, somewhere around that number. What we usually like to do is try to practice where you live, especially in the younger grades. right? We don't want to have everyone from Limerick come down here and practice in Lyman, and we don't want to drive all the way up to Limerick for us Lyman residents. So we try to separate them as best we can. When you get older, you end up being drafted and you can't quite separate as easy. But when you're talking T-ball and the younger A-ball and stuff like that, we try to separate them to a point within who registers. So we try, again, that would mean more kids from Lyman play here. So then also I want to talk about the field conditions that we play with. So last year we only used Bunganut Field for softball. That is, again, we put in the $900 over there. We did the time, we did the turfus, etc. That's the only field we used in Lyman last year. We proposed, and I was here last year, about Chadbourne Field, about renovating Chadbourne Field, making it into another playable field. That field has not been used in many, many years for any activity. And again, we would have cleared the field and made it into a softball field, which would be less grass, less mowing. Other than that, we wouldn't be doing anything with that field other than making that more of an activity hotspot, which is just a better look for the town. So I'm curious on why you guys arrived at wanting to charge our organization, other youth organizations, when we are just playing on dirt. I know you guys, I know the outfield or whatever in Bunganut, it is very nice grass. I know the soccer fields over there are really nice. I've had my kids have played over there, but we don't really utilize that portion of it. I mean, we have coach pitch softball and almost 98% of the time we're on the dirt. So, yeah, I don't. Galen, you want to
Yeah,
add
I'll just
anything?
chime in a couple points as well.
Yeah, go
Thank you for having me. Galen Nickerson, Massabesic Little League. I am from Limerick. We come down to Lyman quite frequently. I'm in charge of the softball division. And we, like Greg mentioned, we use the Bunganut Field almost exclusively for the coach pitch level. It's not one of the nicer fields. It's not really great for games. I mean, we do play coach pitch games there, but there's no suitable area for parents to sit. They end up sitting in the outfield because it's all scrub brush and pucker brush outside the fence. We every year for field cleanup day, we go and cut what we can, but it ends up growing back before the games end up starting. And we have about 4 teams that practice there nightly, and then we play a game or 2 on Saturday. And just to clarify what Greg said about the intent for Chadbourne Field, it was supposed to be a skin field is what we had intended, which is a dirt infield that is primarily used for softball. But the plan was to install base plugs at 60 feet and I think 90 feet so you could utilize it for both softball and for baseball and bring in a temporary mound. And the intent was to pour quite a bit of money in upfront to get that cut in and moved forward. So because we planned on spending so much, I mean, having to then pay to use the field just kind of feels unreasonable. I personally reached out to a lot of little leagues in the area, Southern Maine especially, but also throughout the state. I'm from Northern Maine originally, so I have friends and family all over. And of the leagues I spoke to and the towns I spoke to, no one charges. It's absolutely unheard of to charge a local league a youth sports group to use a public space. You will find towns will charge for a travel organization, such as you'll have travel soccer, travel baseball, travel softball. My daughters play travel softball. And in those organizations, you have girls and boys also, but for softball, just the girls coming from all over the state, and they're playing competitively. And the organizations are trying to make some money off these, and they're trying to grow their programs. And the one that we're part of, they're trying to buy property and build fields, put in a dome. So I think it's reasonable to charge a place like a business like that. I mean, they are more than, the kids in town. So just wanted to mention that. Greg mentioned that we do donate to Waterboro and to Alfred. Those fields have dugouts. The fields in Waterboro have irrigation at the baseball field and lights at the softball field. They have porta potties that are nice and close, so that we don't have kids having accidents when they're running 800 feet across the field. But we have loved using that field. I think we've used the Bunganut field for the past 5 years. At that point, it had been unused for quite a while, and Massabesic Little League and some parents did the work to get that playable again. So it's unfortunate to now be charged at a rate that's really going to be detrimental to the league. I think I heard somebody mention that their child played travel hockey, and hockey rinks charge $300 an hour. So $25, $50 an hour is not a big deal. Those hockey organizations are charging about $900 to $1,000 in registrations. Our registrations are $80. And that's comparable to other ones around the league, around the area, Southern Maine. We're part of District 4, and we are in the middle of the pack. Some are a little less, some are a little more. And if we're talking about just the girls that are there frequently, at 30 girls, at $80 a girl, you're talking $2,400. To then charge $25 this year and $50 an hour in the future, that's all of our money that we raise off of registrations. That doesn't include anything for uniforms or equipment. A dozen softballs cost over $80 now. I mean, we go through a lot of balls. We go through a lot of equipment, tees and catcher's equipment. We still have catcher's equipment from 15 years ago, and we try to replace a few sets each year. Those cost $300 to $400 for catcher's equipment, depending on how big the child is. So just wanted to throw out some of that information, and hopefully that you'll reconsider the stance, because I don't think Lyman residents, and definitely not the residents of the district in a whole, would support a decision to be the first town to start charging youth groups, youth athletics to use public spaces. Thank you.
I don't know if you need to talk about archive. No,
They've been coming at weird hours.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I was distracting.
Madam Chair, may I ask a
Yeah,
question?
absolutely.
Mr. Mitchell?
I was gonna say, do you guys want to discuss? And
Well,
Yeah.
two things. Number one,
Yes.
do you have an estimate as to how much it would cost you to cover the fee? How many hours, estimate as to how many hours that you use the fields times 25, I believe it is?
I mean, our rough math, I think based on what we used Bunganut last year, would be roughly 10 hours a week at 8 weeks. So it's basically about $2,000 at a minimum for that field. And we were in hopes of, if we go forward with Chadbourne, probably use that about the same amount, because we have other teams that we just end up putting in the outfield between like out in Alfred Park that don't even get a base pass to practice on. They're just out in the grass. So like we have the teams, like I said, we have 440 kids that we need more fields. for the amount of kids, so. We, looking at that, those just rough numbers, it's gonna be 4,000 just for this town. So,
Can I ask a question though?
Yeah.
I thought when we talked about a fee schedule, it was for Bunganut. I didn't realize we were talking about every single field that we have was gonna be $25 an hour? Is that,
My understanding
went?
was all fields,
Yeah.
which is
all
two.
right, well, I guess in the push to do the net zero conversation about Bunganut in my little addled mind somewhere, that's where it went. It wasn't all the field. I thought that was our starting point.
So I have a question. Why were we, as Massapequa Little League, lumped in with that group? It just seems like we were just kind of, I know you guys were maybe casting a net, but
With what group?
with being part of Bungnut like committee and what the Y does and what other groups do, what soccer
No.
does.
It's not
It's the
any-
field.
it's
We
not-
were
yeah.
talking,
It's the field, okay.
Yeah,
Bunganut
it's not-
Park is.
It's not your organization.
Yeah.
It's just, it's the field.
Okay.
Yeah, Madam Chair?
Yes.
I don't mind me asking, this was Mitchell,
Yeah.
but is Bernier Field still being used at your disposal?
Yeah, so Bernier Field is private. So we've been using that for the last few years. We have our own field maintenance with them. But it's still being used by Little League, correct?
Travis, any charge on the part of the owners there for the use of the field, or was it just?
We pay quite a bit of money for that place. So, yes,
You know how much?
yes.
Understood.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
I follow.
Any other?
I was just looking at like what we spend for mowing at Bunganut. I mean, that's one of the reasons I think that, I know in my opinion, charging for use of the fields is because we spend a lot of money to maintain them. And I can't find it right now.
I think the contract price is, it jumps up every year due to COLA,
Mhm.
but it's around 48,000 to 50,000 for all the mowing. So it includes Chadbourne and Bunganut. The most mowing they probably do is like Bunganut Field and Chadbourne Field. Because everywhere else, it's like even here, it's not as
Mhm.
much compared. So I would bet.
So
half that
$51,102.
Yeah,
Does that sound
that's
about
probably
right?
where it's at right now.
Okay. And that goes up every year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what made me vote for it, is that we have expenses as a town. You know, the town is a business as well, and we have people that we have to answer to, which is the taxpayers of the town.
Yeah, right. I mean, I guess my counter to mowing is softball fields don't have grass on them.
Well, we still have to maintain it's not just
Right.
you know, it's the
So-
whole facility at Bunganut that,
I understand that, but
So I don't think it's a secret if everyone watched the meeting that I was kind of flipping and flopping a little bit back and forth, and I did advocate for families and organizations that my kids are also part of. And the reason that I voted to go with it is because we have to start somewhere and try it and see where we go as a town to
Yep.
try to offset and make Bunganut not as large of a burden to the taxpayer. So that's where I landed with it. I see it as something that the town tries this year as a starting point, and we didn't go with $50 right out of the gate, which I think was on the table at one point, and see how it goes, and then we can reevaluate. Is kind of where I came at it from. So
Same.
And Ms. Mitchell, you said you got about 440 kids in the whole program?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
like-
cover the, both for Chadbourne and for Buckeye, $2,000 a piece there. Wouldn't it be, the computation be $4,000 divided by 440? As to what the additional cost on the registration would be?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
have a
turn the
follow-
microphone. I don't
just
think
have a
we
follow
would,
math.
I don't think we would, we would change plans. We would not put the work and the money into Chadbourne Field. We won't use it. That can continue to be mowed by the town and unused. Bunganut, we'll have to cut back on hours, and I'll try to, shorten practice times. Kids will get less practices. If we start paying $2,000 per field of all of our fields, and other towns say, oh, look what they're doing, we're gonna do that also. That'll break the league. We have one of the only growing little leagues in southern Maine. Youth sports are suffering. Deering and Portland high schools are combining softball teams because they don't have kids getting into youth sports. Portland used to have 5 little leagues because they were such big numbers. They're down to 1. And we're doing something right and growing our program, and we need the fields, but we need to keep registrations costs to a reasonable level and not start a trend where we're the only district being charged, or the only little league being charged by a town. I think that's a slippery slope, and other towns could start doing that, and I don't want to be involved with it. Would probably continue to use Bunganut at a bare minimum. And I think likewise, that fee would have to be spread among the others. The soccer group and then the homeschool group, whoever else uses the field, and theirs is just gonna go up also. So I would anticipate them having similar sentiments, but I'll let them speak for themselves at some point. That's my feel on it, is that the Little League just would break ties with Lyman as much as possible to try to keep our costs manageable.
Right. We support a lot, quite a bit of financial hardship families in our organization. We're having open registrations right now, and I've already received, more than a few asking for financial assistance to cover the cost right now. So I don't think it's a good idea from my standpoint from Massabesic Little League, and I don't like it as a resident either. But if majority wants, whatever. So
May I?
yeah, go ahead, Dave.
I'd be interested in sitting down and looking at our costs, looking at your costs, and seeing how we can't work this out together. Obviously, we have expenses, you have expenses, and put everything on the table, and let's see where that goes. The sooner the better, I'm sure.
So
If I may-
Dave, the only thing I'm gonna say to that is we have to be willing to do that with every group consistently across the board. So if we're not gonna do it with the Y, and this is no disrespect to the Little League, if we're not gonna do it with the Y
Well,
or other groups. then
I'm only talking Chadbourne Field because it's a separate field, separate costs. I broke out the number for Bunganut. Our mowing costs up there. 90% of our costs is in mowing, I would assume. And why can't we use that as a separate, a totally separate entity and figure that out like we figured out Bunganut? That's my thought.
You're saying.
I mean, we came to a number on Bunganut because of the money we put into it and the money but we really didn't, we did lump Chadbourne into it. But if we do the same exercise and it makes sense, then we go for it, we do it.
So my understanding from the conversations about field use was it was applied to all fields. If you guys want to change it, that's fine. We are implementing the new MyRec program that we wanted to move forward with. So in order to get that stuff set up, like I need information. I don't want to be flying by the seat of our pants trying to figure out stuff at the last minute because you guys changed your minds.
Well, and I don't want to speak for the Little League, but I think if they're going to be charged for Buckernut, they're saying we don't care about Chadbourne anymore.
That's what I'm
kind of what
hearing. Yeah.
Well, I think we would be willing to discuss if it was going to be priced, feed differently. But as our understanding was that Chadbourne was also going to be $25 an hour this year, going up to $50 an hour. I had a lot of vision for that field and putting it to good use and drawing a lot of families here each weeknight and every Saturday during the season. But at $50 an hour, it's just.
I just want to put, I don't know where you
Yeah.
got that information because that never came from us. That was an amount that like it was talked about as starting, like, do we want to charge $50 an hour? Nobody ever said that,
I
what it was
heard-
going up to.
I heard in some of the recent selectmen meetings, the board meetings, that $50 an hour was probably the number to go with for net zero, but that some of you felt that was too much to start with and that $25 was a reasonable starting point.
But we never said,
But-
we'll go up next year to $50.
No,
That never
not-
came out,
it's
but
not
you're putting
necessarily-
it out there like that's gospel. And that was not said.
No, but if we're agreeing to 25 now and then knowing that 50 was put out there as a possibility,
That was just a number to
Yeah.
start the discussion,
Okay.
because this is all new to us too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This
Clears
whole
that-
concept actually was kind of new,
This is
and
a
I
new-
thought,
And
I thought that the $50
like-
starting point was too high.
Yes.
this is a new concept.
For a little,
All towns don't charge little leagues, youth sports to use public spaces. It's unheard
I
of.
don't mind doing a little digging on that because when we first started looking at field use fees, I looked at like Biddeford and Saco and Brunswick and stuff like that, and they do have fee schedules for profit and nonprofit organizations. I mean, I would have to call them directly to figure out legitimately, do you not charge little leagues? I just don't know how, I would for
I
myself,
spoke
I'd
with
like
the
to look at
presidents
it.
of several
That's
little
fine.
leagues in the area.
I would just like to
and-
reach out to other towns to gain a perspective. And then, I think when we started talking about this in workshops, we were just trying to figure out how to offset costs to the taxpayers. Because what I heard from some of the committees who have been trying to work on stuff, and I heard it from Mason Little League as well, is the condition of the parks and that, the benches and the dugouts and stuff like that. And I think, some of these things we weren't necessarily aware of for quite some time, but now that we're becoming more aware of the conditions of our buildings and our grounds, that's going to be a cost to the taxpayers as well as the upkeep and the maintenance of that. So it sounds to me like it's more than just mowing the grass, it's upkeeping quite a bit. So, I think I would want to see something that works for everyone, but at the same time, we're in our budgeting cycle right now, trying to figure out how do we not increase the budget to such an exorbitant amount.
What do you think would be a reasonable hourly cost since we went to that table?
I don't think an hourly amount would work for our types of organizations, because then we're just gonna say, well, let's just use it a little less. It would just have to be some type of agreed upon flat fee, donation, or a flat fee, whatever you want to call it. It's just a base number. That's probably the easiest for nonprofit organizations.
And that person, you do make a donation to Warborough.
Correct.
And Alfred.
Correct. And we've been doing that for multiple years for that. So
Does the district charge you for the middle school? On
You
their-
use the school field?
Yeah. 'cause
No,
they just
we-
updated their structure, I think. too.
They may going forward. I don't believe they're going to charge for outdoor space. They are charging us for indoor space. But that's only because they need to have a custodian or another staff member there
So-
present.
Right.
Because
Um,
their fields are 25 an hour. They approved that last meeting, so. I just didn't know if they don't charge you all because you're.
They
nonprofit
never
or what
have.
that works out.
I know that there was a fee there before, but they've never levied it to us. So we have to schedule around their practices and games, but we've never been charged a fee for,
Okay.
Also a community space.
My personal thought on you guys scheduling and trying to schedule organizations to play there or use the field. If you had suitors to come in and say, I want to rent this space for whatever reason, they can trump us and we'll move for that weekend or that time type of, but I don't know who's going to be doing that. Like who's going to be renting Chadbourne Field? No one's played on it in so many years. I don't know why you would expect someone's going to give the town this money to use something that no one's used. I don't get that understanding.
It was
Yep.
rented out, I think, last year or the year before, but I'm not sure which league rented it out. I'd have to pull the field use request forms.
So if you like moved forward and said, hey, you guys got to be on the hook for us Little League, move out of the space if we're going to actually use it to gain the town money. Well, I can understand that. But for the most part, these fields do not get used. The softball field over in the corner of Bunganut is not going to get used for any organizations. They're going to go play on the grass. That's nice, right? The field is in great shape, but they're not using the softball field in the corner. No one's using that.
I mean, I feel like we haven't even searched out for the potential of who
I
would want to
no,
use
that's
that.
well,
If
that's
we
what I'm
reached
saying. I'm
out-
saying if you guys did have lots of suitors, then please have them go in front of the line, put us to the back of the line. But if there's no one there, then let us use it. That's my opinion.
Rethinking the whole thing.
All right. Any other questions or concerns?
Anyone else?
Personnel.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Okay. YMCA 2025 contract. All right, so we met with Andy last week. Sorry.
Last meeting?
What day was it?
Was it?
Workshop, budget workshop, Thursday. So we have to decide tonight what we want to do or not do with that contract.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I've given him the contract we originally agreed on, and he came back and said he doesn't agree with it.
Right.
So it's kind of up to you guys if you want to leave it the same, modify it before I send anything off to him.
Do you, know, was the end of the year walkthrough done at the end of October?
I don't know off the top of my head.
So I was wondering when the last time somebody from the Y had visited the park. All of the trash cans that are down there are all full of trash. So if that's part of one of their jobs that they were supposed to do before they left the park on October 30th, they didn't hold up their end of the agreement there. It's my understanding that all of the picnic tables are supposed to be moved and stacked. And some are stacked, but some are just out and about in front of the beach area. I mean, thankfully, we had all the big trees come down already, because if that happened again, we would again be losing picnic tables because they're all just out there. So I still have some issues with the contract. But as a compromise, I would suggest a 1-year contract for us, and I hate to say this, paying the YMCA $10,000 and split the payments up over the course of those months. The YMCA again could keep the gate fees, and they could report the data from the gate fees, like, you know, how many cars, all of that, to the town manager for our own purposes, you know, statistics. Town would keep control of the Pines, and the YMCA would have to pay to use it. YMCA would get to use the fields if it's pre-booked and prepaid through the MyRac. I would like to see definitions of manage and facilities listed in the contract and parks and management rules so that we're all on the same page when somebody says, oh, I manage Bunganut. What in their mind does that entail? Because I think managing and, you know, facilities, I think their definition might be a little bit different than what mine is. And then I would like to see it put in the contract that the town specifies what is done with the town property and where the town property is to be put at the end of the season. So like the picnic tables. Most of the picnic tables are propped up against trees that are leaning towards the water. So I think we already know we have an erosion problem down there. And I don't think that stacking 7-8 picnic tables up against the trees to push them further into the water is a good idea anymore. So that's my 2 cents.
Is that a motion?
I'll make that.
It's a long one.
I'll make that motion. Do you want me to read it all again?
Well, I'll second it for discussion.
Okay, that's fair. I'll discuss.
Okay,
Go
sorry.
ahead. No,
Go ahead.
you discuss. I'm here listening.
You want me to go?
Yes.
Okay. So historically, over the past 5 years, they've been getting paid about $11,000 a year. So Amber's 10,000 isn't out of line with what has been done historically. What's not being included is that $30,000 that the town is used to subsidize the labor. So I agree with that. I agree that you're still paying them the same amount, but you are restructuring. You're putting the onus on the Y to give you back factual data for the year. You check the box on the field, and I didn't hear anything about the Pines. Was the Pines taken out of the equation?
Oh, no, I might have skipped
No,
over.
she said
I
the
did-
Pines
Yeah, did I?
is-
You
So,
said,
Okay.
you said the Pines would be retained that the town would manage the Pines.
By the town.
Yes.
Okay.
And if they
Um,
wanted to use it, they would pay?
So the biggest, yeah, if they would use it, they would pay. So I guess the biggest thing is they wouldn't get upfront money to do that, which, you know, if you really think of it, we shouldn't be paying that money upfront to subsidize anyone anyway. If their cost, if they needed that $11,000, $10,000 a year, whatever it is, and we're still offering that money, I think that's a good compromise.
Are you, I'm just trying to do your math in my head. Are you using the $11,000 and where we meet them by saying that they're getting gate fees of the 32, like?
Yeah,
is that the-
historically, we've paid them X amount. I believe the differential was 55, almost $56,000, something like that. So, you divide that up into the, I think I sent it to you guys at the time. So
Hold on,
understand
Lindsay
where-
it
can-
comes out to about
I
$11,000
think Lindsay can explain Dave
close
math
to it.
to me. Hold on a second.
It's
As an average.
It's what we've been paying them,
Yeah,
41,000 minus what we typically would collect from gate fees. The
Right.
overage is like 11,000. That's what I'm hearing
Yeah.
from
and
Dave.
gate,
Yeah.
my only a couple things, right, and Andy pointed this out, is gate fees include the pines.
No, not necessarily, because we talked about doing the MyRec program.
No, I mean, for them, historically, gate
Yeah, but
fees
you're
have
talking
included.
like $2,000,
Mm.
because remember when I pulled out, like, they've only rented the Pines, this year it was like 12 times.
Mhm.
They gave it to Waterboro Parks and Recs at the $250 instead of the $350. And then the year before, it was like 7 times it got rented out. So it does not get rented out that often. So you
Okay.
just multiply that by 250.
The year before last was relatively rainy too, which is gonna make a difference.
Right.
That's why they fluctuate.
Mhm. Do you have discussion?
No, I like what I'm hearing. I mean, I like a compromise.
I like a
I,
compromise, I just don't know if the Y will go for it.
I don't imagine. I don't know. I think they want what they want. I get that. But so to move forward, would we also put in that the future of the town of Lyman is looking at managing the park themselves?
I think that's why it would
And-
just be 1 year.
And that's what 1 year also because, and then maybe we would put out to like some sort of a bid to other entities that might want to run a program at the park. And that would be another way to bring in dollars and give maybe a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Competition?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful spot.
Yeah, it is. And I think with the improvements that the town can hopefully make, then that's gonna be a nice area to spend time in. And
They're still getting paid the same money
Weather
that
dependent.
they've been paid average for the past 5 years.
Will you highlight the points of your motion one more time?
Okay.
Sorry.
So I make a motion that we.
Well, you already made the motion because we're in discussion.
Okay.
So you're just going over your key.
So
little-
1-year contract for 10,000 to be paid to the YMCA in split payments. YMCA keeps the collected gate fees and they report to the town manager the weekly collection reports or data. Town keeps and controls the Pine and the YMCA would have to pay to use that. YMCA gets field use that is pre-booked and prepaid through MyRec app. Definitions of manage and facilities listed in the contract and park management rules. And the town to specify how town property is stored and where town property should be stored.
Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll go with it because it's a negotiation, basically. And it's not exactly what I asked for, but it's the compromise. I like it.
Yeah.
So,
All opposed? Aye. And for the record, Joe refused himself. Okay.
All right, so I guess just moving forward, I'm gonna refine the park management rules. It's kind of already in the contract that they're gonna abide by them, so I think I'll focus more on refining the park management rules and clearly define how things, like, I may even just kind of come up with some sort of a worksheet, like a weekly checklist or something, and then beginning of the year checklist, end of year checklist, and incorporate that in there. And then when I finish that up, I'll send that off to Andy. So I'll probably just let them know we're, working on renegotiations. We'll, refine some of the documentation and get it out to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, RFP for property assessment equalization project. I don't know if there's any, I know you were looking into some.
Kind of, sorta. We're still reviewing it. So Lori and I met over the phone with RCS. We just wanted to get some specifics on what exactly they're bidding on. So it seems like what they're providing is basically what we'd asked for. It's updating the cost tables. They use a lot of data from revals that they've done over the last few years in the neighboring municipalities or like municipalities. They'll help with doing some of that outreach for property assessment. They're still at the 150, so we're still gonna, I'm waiting to hear back by the end of the week, I think, on where they're at, if they can maybe possibly rearrange the finances or the bid amount. They may or may not be able to. It may just be what it is. So we're just getting more clarification on that. Lori sent over more specifics so they can look at it and get an understanding. They said the original one was kind of vague because they don't know our community. They don't know where we're at in assessment land. So she's sending them over some data to give them a little perspective of like, this is where we're at, so that they'll be able to refine that a little bit. So I'm going to kind of keep in touch with them with Lori. And then when I figure out, hopefully by the next meeting, should have more specific information.
Yeah, because the bid seemed like it was a reval,
It's not a reval.
but that's what
It did seem that way. Yeah, no, I agree. But it's not. They verified it's not a reval. They did suggest, well, maybe you want to just go the full reval, but I had said to them we'd have to put it out to bid if we did that because we bid something totally different. So
Nobody wants to relive that again yet. Let's be real.
So it'll probably be on the next agenda. I assume they were pretty attentive on getting back to us. So.
Right, we have the fire chief all hands report. Vicki, I don't know if you have anything. to
We're
add to
meeting on Thursday.
that. You're starting
Fire
budget,
commission
okay?
meeting, starting a budget on Thursday. I saw Matt today, Chief Matt today, excited to sign the warrants, and he said he has it all prepared for us, so I'll have more to report at the next meeting.
Awesome.
I'll tell you what happened. No, wait, but you won't be here,
I will watch.
but everybody else will be here.
We started 2025 with fewer numbers than last year at this point.
There's
so-
89 on the board, and I heard sirens a few minutes ago, so there's
Yeah.
at least 9.
But we're in February now,
Yeah.
so there's
we
a,
left here the other day.
there's a few, we're down a few in January. Let's hope that trend continues
Everyone.
for everyone, yes.
Eco Main Rep, updates regarding the pilot composting program.
Yes, so we had our roundtable discussion on January 13th. And one of the people that attended via Zoom was Mark King. He wasn't able to speak a lot about certain things because, which we didn't know, there was an open grant period for the state. And it was just a special round because they usually do a spring and a fall round. And this was a special round, and the amount was up to 60,000 versus the regular 40,000. So on the 14th, I talked to Lindsay and talked to Karen Kane, and we were like, well, let's try it. So we somehow, by the grace of God, got the grant. Got the grant application submitted. So we should hear hopefully sometime in March. So first of all, I want to thank Karen Kane with the grant writing, Joe helped Karen with that. So thank you, Joe. Joe also volunteered to be one of the educators for the educational piece of it.
Nice.
Thank you, Lindsay, our town manager, because she was very helpful. Same thing with our HR and finance director, Jeanette LeMay, our CEO, Becca Thompson, and our CEO assistant, Julie Lemieux. They were great about getting the folders that we needed to look through for the grant application. Randy, our transfer station manager, has really been bearing with me, I feel. He's been entertaining me. Vicky, thank you for needing me up there to go over that. Tom Croto, had some conversations with him. B. Johnson from Eco Maine and Annie, who had come to the roundtable discussion. And Kevin Roach, at the CEO at Eco Maine, actually provided a letter of support for the town for the grant. So that was
Oh,
very
wow.
nice. And Jonathan Tibbetts, is in the works here to hopefully be the local farm that will pick all this food waste up and keep it local. I have already had some people say that they would volunteer if the grant goes through, which I'm fingers crossed, like keep saying when the grant goes through.
Yes, manifest that. thing.
So I did have Lindsay include what we put down for the grant, and I did that in hopes that people would see that the money coming from the state will actually pay for pretty much everything that we are going to need, and then the rest is being donated in kind volunteers and in kind, like Carbon Source is going to be donated. So things like that. That way no taxpayer dollars should have to come out for this. And so basically what we've the image is in the grant proposal was there will be a gravel pad up at the transfer station, which a shipping container office will be put on, and then that will be set up as the kind of facility for the food waste program. So there would be totes in there that people would use, they would get a bucket, small bucket for their kitchen or whatever, their countertop, a bigger bucket if they don't go to the transfer station all the time. And then those would be brought to the transfer station and dumped into the totes that will be in the storage facility there. So I'm very hopeful that we'll hear in March and we can start ordering and we can start having some educational classes so that people can start participating. And if anybody wants to volunteer already, feel free to reach out.
Nice.
That's awesome.
I like the graph.
Yes, that all Lindsay. That is, I like the visual of it. Yeah.
Thank you. And then we have our regular month, did we get this once a month? Expense report from the
Expense report,
treasurer.
yeah.
New business, discussion for the town report dedication.
Thoughts, ideas?
I like how we did it last year. That's
Really?
my thought.
Which was,
We solicited
did
like a
survey.
email kind of thing
Yeah, it's
and
a
asked for nominations.
That's
I nominate Bugging
Okay.
Just the park in general. Sounds
Can
great.
we,
Send
can
your
we
email.
nominate, or do we have to do it by the survey also?
Well, I think
I-
what we did was we did the survey, then I gave you guys the results, and I think I scattered them. So then you were just like, we pick option C.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
put
And
them
then
with the
I, then
labels.
it,
It's
everyone
supposed to be a
was announced in the
surprise.
report. Yeah, so it could be a surprise.
Yeah,
Because I have somebody I would nominate for it.
cool. Is everyone okay with that approach again? I don't want
so it'd be a solicitation on the town website for nominees.
Yeah, like the MailChimp we do and stuff. So a survey will go out.
Mhm.
basically, and it'll be like an open text, and you can just write in who you'd like to nominate. But there's a
Thank you.
person or group, whatever you guys.
Okay.
I got a text yesterday from a survey in North Carolina that said it was from the town of Lyman,
There is a Lime in North Carolina.
but.
You know, I
okay.
booked a Christmas party at that in Lyman, North Carolina.
Stop it.
No, I was wondering, I said, is that us?
That was a major oops.
People
feel
call
like
the
I wonder where
library and
this
ask
place
us
is.
about their programming. They'll say, is your concert still on? It's like, yeah, it's happened before.
Oh,
It's
okay,
like,
because I was totally flummoxed.
I think there's another town too, another Lyman in the United States too, that we get calls about at the library.
Okay,
It was weird, yeah.
You guys go with a survey?
yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
all right. Review and approve meeting minutes from January 21st, 2025.
So moved.
Second it.
Any discussion on those?
Madam Chair, just on the first page, the very last line there, suggested clarification. They want to maintain exclusivity of a section of the park. I think without that little provision in there, there could be no section of complete use of the park on the part of
Right.
the Y. So I just suggest that
So they do want to
preposition
maintain exclusivity though while they're programming,
of the
which
section.
shuts off, so like they had talked about the
This-
swim area, the trails, all of it.
Mhm. That's not the entirety, that's a section of the park.
I don't have the minutes in front
Just
of me. I
a-
thought you said it said exclusivity of a section.
I
No,
just
he
put that in
suggested
there.
that it should say of
Oh,
a
I got you,
section,
okay.
that's
Yeah.
all. As, right now, it just reads exclusivity of the park,
Gotcha.
so all we want to do is just add a section. I'm on board with that.
So I just add it to your next minutes as a
Mhm.
discussion in your motion.
Okay,
Mhm.
Okay.
I'm fine with that. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Dave, were you in favor?
He's muted.
Yes, and just in coughing mode, sorry.
Oh, okay, no. You're usually just like that 1 second behind us and I was waiting. All right, now we will move on to payroll warrant number 34 in the amount of $30,940.11.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then accounts payable warrant number 33 in the amount of $646,723.63.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on that one.
Just Madam Chair?
Yep.
Thank you, Lindsay. Cousins Bridge is on Day Road.
Yes, it's the culvert.
Culvert right there, yeah. That was the surveying work that was done there, I believe, by Haley Ward. And there's an amount for R&R oil. Do we know how much is in the heat assistance fund at present?
In your expense report, it would be in there. I don't know off the top of my head, but
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
We've gotten a lot of requests this year for fuel assistance.
Mhm.
I was reading
Yeah, I'm glad that's there.
this cold snap that we had it's been the coldest winter we've had in quite a while, several years.
Any other discussion on that warrant?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
No, I think this is mine.
Oh.
I didn't want to get them mixed up.
Thank you.
That's why I was
Like, oh,
thinking of-
no. Thought there was one.
Do we have anything else to sign? Just the
Yeah,
two?
you missed
Just
that.
1, 2, 3.
You missed that. So she missed that.
I didn't sign the wrong one though. I didn't sign mine.
Okay. That works, I guess.
I don't know, my gerbil fell off the wheel a long time ago.
Excellent. All right. Anyone?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second,
Any discussion?
just a quick reminder, we get together again next Monday, 4 o'clock. Go over the committee handbook.
Yes.
The roundtable discussion for age-friendly survey is at 6 o'clock that evening. And the comprehensive plan has their roundtable discussions on Thursday, the 13th, and at 6, and on Saturday, the 15th at 10, I believe it is.
I do have a question for you, Joe. Are there going to be paper copies of their survey results for the elderly?
Well, the slides show itself.
What is happening?
I
This
know,
is
sorry.
discussion to adjourn though. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
Sorry,
Okay.
my bad.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye. Thank you.
I,
Sorry.
Is there going to be paper copies of the,
Well, what I have in mind is we project the slideshow that